Good afternoon, Stallions. This is Mrs. Farnham, and I am going to read with you today the story called Moonwalk. It is from our Scott Forsman series, and it takes place on the moon, which is really cool. Moonwalk is a science fiction story, and the genre, of course, is science fiction. I love science fiction books. I read them as much as possible. I love going on adventures to places that you can't even imagine by yourself. The author takes you to worlds unknown anywhere in the past and in the future. Science fiction is a really cool genre. So next time you're at the library, someday at the Yale Library, you should check out that area. And in my classroom, I have at least 3 baskets of science fiction books that you can borrow. Anyway, what is science fiction? Well, it's a story based on science. It often tells about life in the future. And as you read this story about a walk on the moon, look for the scientific information on which it is based. During science, during the school year, we often come across this story after we've learned about moons in science. Sadly, this year we didn't get to that topic before school ended, but by reading the story, maybe we can brush up on some facts about the moon. I know that you learned about the moon in first grade. Sorry, third grade. Probably first grade too. All right, so let's start reading, guys. I'm going to jump to the next page. And before I do that, I'm going to take a look around at these pictures on this page. I see, it looks like a really cool space station, kind of shaped like a turtle. And then we have 2 boys. They look like they're in really cool spacesuits, and they're standing on the rocks. That makes me think that these 2 boys live in that space station on the moon. I'm wondering why. Then they're still out on the moon. I see over here the word trudged. I know that means to walk slowly. So maybe they're trudging along. Oh, and behind Mrs. Farnham, let me see if I can make myself small. Oh no, it looks like someone is laying on the gully somewhere here. Yikes. Okay, the brothers, one looks really hurt. That makes me think that there's going to be a big accident. And then he's still hurt, and it looks like it's yellow up here. Maybe the sun's going to get brighter. And maybe that caused a problem. Oh, he's really hurt. Back at home, laying on the couch, like you guys probably are right now. And, in the back looks like a little moonmobile, some type. Wonder who that is. Which one of the guys? A yellow spaceship suit and a kind of teal or turquoise. All right, and that would be the last page of the story. So let's go back to the first. Just took a little picture walk to make some predictions. I hope your predictions are similar to mine. All right. Oops, went too far. If you're in my class, you know that sometimes technology and I, we don't go hand in hand. It doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna play the little hippo. He's gonna read it to us, and I'm gonna make some comments here and there. Listen out for some questions. I'll stop the story, and we can read this together. Okay? Hey. Here we go.
Bet you can't jump over that real runt, Vern challenged. Jerry Kendall hated it when his older brother called him runt. Watch me, runt, Vern taunted. I'll show you how to do it. Inside his hard-shell moonsuit, with its big backpack and astronaut-type helmet, Jerry watched as Vern got a running start, kicking up lazy puffs of dust with each step. He sailed over the crooked crack in the ground, floating like a cloud, until he touched down on the other side. The boys were out on the floor of the giant crater Alphonsus. Their father had brought them along with him to the half-buried shelter 15 miles from the main base. Dad had left them at the shelter and gone off with the tractor to inspect the new telescope that was being built still farther out on the crater floor. Dad had told them to stay inside the shelter until he came back. But Vern wanted to go outside for a moonwalk. Now he was jumping over gullies in the bare, dark ground. "Come on, Runt," Vern called from the other side of the rill. "Let's see you do it." Jerry glanced at the thermometer on the wrist of his moon suit. It was 214 degrees below zero, yet he was sweating inside his suit. "What's the matter? You scared?" Even though it was nighttime, it wasn't really dark. A big blue and white earth hung in the starry sky, shining beautifully. Jerry could see the rough, uneven ground, the rocks and boulders scattered everywhere on the moon's surface. And the rill, a wide, meandering crack in the ground. "Well?" Vern demanded. In the moon's light gravity, Jerry weighed only about 30 pounds, even with his bulky moon suit. "Okay," he said into his microphone. "Here I come." He took 4 running steps, then soared over the rill. It felt like flying. He stumbled when he landed, though. Vern grabbed him and kept him from falling. "Not bad for a runt," Vern said, laughing. "Now let's find a really big one."
Okay, so on these 2 pages, we get introduced to our characters. I want you to name both characters right now. Who are they? Jerry and Vern. I feel like the guy on Blue's Clues. How do you think that Jerry feels on this page? He's standing with his brother, Vern, and he's about to jump across something really far. His brother keeps calling him Runt, so maybe he's not that big. How do you think he's feeling? I think he's feeling kind of nervous. I know I would be nervous about to make a big jump like that, especially on the moon. My next question for this page is, what evidence helps you understand Vern's character a little bit more? First of all, let's talk about Vern's character. Name one word that you could use to describe Vern's character, and go. I think I'm going to go with troublemaker. Vern seems like he's the brains of the operation, and Jerry just kind of follows along. Vern is not obeying his parents, and he is going out somewhere it's 214 degrees below zero. Okay, that's negative 214 degrees. That's insane. Secondly, he's taking a risk by going out in the middle of all of these dark, steep rills. A rill, like you should have learned in our vocabulary video, is like a trench. So a really big, gaping, like valley. So let's see what happens next. Vern says, now let's find a really big one. And in my predictions, we said that looked like someone got hurt. So let's see what's going to happen next. All right, ready, little hippo, and play.
"We shouldn't be doing this," Jerry said. "Dad told us to stay inside the shelter. If he finds out..." "Who's going to tell him?" Vern demanded. Nobody, I guess." That's right. We'll be back in the shelter by the time Dad gets back. And you'll keep your mouth shut, right? Right, Jerry said reluctantly. He followed Vern along the rill they had just crossed, their boots kicking up dust that settled slowly in the low gravity. They trudged along for nearly an hour, leaving boot prints in the dust. Off on the other side of the crater, sunlight was bathing the top of the Ringwall Mountains with harsh, brilliant light. It would soon be daytime. Hey, there's one, Vern called out, pointing with a gloved hand at a broad gully up ahead. It was much wider than the one they'd jumped across. It looked deep, too, like a trench. Bet you can't jump over that one, Runt. Jerry peered at the rill. It's pretty wide, he said. Scared?
Oh, Vern is just taunting his brother, huh? On this page, what do we know about the surface of the moon? I kind of touched on that on the last page, but they give us some hints. I see that the moon dust settles slowly, so it's dusty. Um, there's a lot of mountains, craters, and also, I want to ask you guys, how do you think that looks different from the surface of the earth? Think about that for a second. How is it different? Thirdly, how would these people be able to live there? It seems like they have a space station, and Vern and his brother both have on these awesome spacesuits. So obviously, the suits are providing them with a little bit of gravity because they're able to stay down on the moon. Secondly, the suits are protecting them and giving them air. There isn't air like we breathe here on the moon. Let's see what happens next on the next page. Is Jerry going to jump? Let's see.
Jerry was, but he didn't want to admit it. He shook his head inside his helmet, then realized that Vern couldn't see it. Well, want me to go first? Summoning up his courage, Jerry said, Nah, I'll try it. Jerry backed up several paces, then started running. In the light gravity, every step was a leap. The edge of the rill loomed up like the rim of the Grand Canyon. Jerry jumped as hard as he could. He soared, sailing up and over the yawning trench, and landed almost perfectly. He hardly staggered. Turning to look back across the rill at Vern, he called, Nothing to it. Piece of cake.
Okay. I'm going to stop right there at the phrase piece of cake. Nothing to it. Now, I understand if you are just learning English that this phrase piece of cake is probably a little strange. Like, think about if you didn't know the context and what that meant or the meaning behind that. That wouldn't really make any sense to you. Piece of cake, like, thanks. Is it someone's birthday? What's going on? Well, in English, this is called an idiom, and we say like silly things like this that only we know the meaning to. And other languages have theirs as well. But piece of cake means that was really easy. Um, and I guess I'm not sure where piece of cake came from, but it's just something that people say. Like, oh gosh, there's so many of them. We say them constantly and don't even realize it. Anyway, so Vern had a really easy jump. Let's see how Jerry takes that.
Hey, Vern answered. Here I come. Vern started running. each stride a long hop across the uneven ground. With his last step, though, he stumbled on a small rock. When he took off for the jump across, Jerry saw that he wasn't going to make it. "Watch out!" he yelled uselessly. Vern soared, arms and legs flailing, and landed hard, just short of the rill's rim. Jerry heard him go oof as he hit the side of the rift and tumbled down out of sight. Jerry rushed to the edge of the gully and saw his brother halfway down the rill, lying motionless.
Oh no. So he's motionless.
Jerry was.
Whoops. And Jerry is just standing there like he's relieved, happy he made his jump, but his brother fell. He tried to save him. He said, "Watch out," but it didn't work. So why doesn't Vern get up? I want you to be thinking about that one as we read the next page. Why doesn't Vern get up?
"Vern, you okay?" No answer. "He's hurt," Jerry thought. "Maybe he's dead." Jerry scrambled down into the gully. Vern was lying on his back, one leg bent under him, arms sprawled. "Vern," he called again as he slid and scraped down the side of the rill. Vern moved one hand, then waved feebly. "He's alive," Jerry thought. "He's conscious." He dropped to his knees at his brother's side. "Are you okay? Can you get up?"
Okay, this part of the story would be known as the climax. It's where all of the problems have gotten worse and worse and worse, and we're at the very top, maybe of the roller coaster, and we're about to slowly climb down as it gets closer to the resolution. So, Jerry's hurt, really hurt, and his brother is relieved that he's alive, but how does Vern's hurt, I think I said. How does Jerry know that Vern is alive? What clue in the story tells me that Vern is alive? Look back and say it out loud if you want. If you answered that Vern moved one hand and then waved, maybe not like that high in the air, that he waved, then you would be correct. All right, let's read the next page.
That's what I thought it was. Vern didn't answer. He tapped one hand against his helmet. His radio's out, Jerry understood. With no air on the moon to carry sound, the only way to talk was through the suit radios. Unless they could touch helmets. He leaned over and pressed his helmet against Vern's. "Can you hear me now?" "No electricity in my suit. No air fans, no radio, nothing." "You must have banged up your backpack," Jerry said. "Knocked the battery loose or something." "I won't have any air to breathe." Vern sounded scared. Without electricity, the moon suit's air circulation pumps couldn't work. Neither could the radio or any of the suit's other equipment. Jerry tried to keep calm. "There's enough air inside the suit for a couple of hours, I think." "Yeah," Vern said, his voice shaky. "Maybe."
Okay, right here in the story, I want to use page 301 to draw some conclusions, okay? The conclusions I want to draw or I want to find details to draw a conclusion. What details help us draw the conclusion that Vern is in a difficult situation? So we want to know what facts is the author giving us to or giving to the reader to tell them that Vern is in a dangerous situation. This is very, very dangerous, okay? So let's look back and read through. I'm going to use the pen tool. Let's change it to pink. All right, so his radio is out, so that's not good. He can't hear what his brother is saying unless they touch helmets. So he leaned over and touched his helmet to his brother's. There's no electricity, no fans, no radio. Oops, I'm messing up. Nothing. Uh-oh. He's banged up his backpack and knocked the battery loose. So those details tell me he's in a dangerous situation. He doesn't have electricity. I won't have any air to breathe. That's a detail that tells me he's in a dangerous situation. He doesn't have air circulation pumps. That tells me that no air is getting around in his moon suit. And of course, we already said the radio. Okay. He's also at the end says he might be able to, with the air he has left, to live for a couple more hours. Now, I remember from the beginning of the story, they had walked for about an hour, okay? And it says he has a couple of hours now. So they've walked away from the base for an hour. That could be another dangerous situation. So my details are no radio, no air fan or circulation pumps, and maybe they're far away or something like that, okay? So when you see a question like that on a test asking you about the details from the story, please go back, underline, make a list, because it could be a type of question that asks you to tell each detail, and you want to make sure that you get that correct, okay? All right, let's move on. I'm going to go back to my pointer tool, and let's see how Vern does. Let's find the resolution to the story. And apparently I have to erase all my marks. I'm just going to erase that one and that one. Okay. Here we go. He's going to try to get his brother up.
Come on, get up.
And
Vern started to push himself to his feet. Ow! He cried, sinking back to the dusty ground again. What's the matter? My knee. It must be broken. Jerry shook his head inside his helmet. Maybe sprained or dislocated. I don't think you could break it in the suit. I can't stand on it. Okay. Lean on me. I'll help you. Grunting, staggering, the two boys scrabbled their way across the bottom of the rill and back to the surface, Vern leaning on Jerry's shoulder. Even on the moon, he felt heavy. Oh my gosh, Vern said. The sun. Jerry saw that daylight had crept across the floor of the crater and was almost upon them. He knew that, without electricity, Vern's cooling system and heat radiator wouldn't work. Once they were in sunlight, the temperature would soar to 250 degrees. I'm gonna boil inside my suit, Vern shouted. Keeping his helmet pressed against his brother's, Jerry said, Come on, let's get back to the shelter. I can't walk. I'll help you. You can't. Come on, Jerry said stubbornly. Let's get started. Jerry remembered that the moon turned very slowly on its axis, once in about 28 days, not like the Earth's once every 24 hours. That meant that sunrise was pretty slow on the moon, about the pace of a person strolling briskly. Maybe they could make it. Maybe, Jerry thought, if we can get back before the sunrise catches us. They started toward the shelter, Vern leaning on Jerry's shoulder. Behind, blazing sunlight crept toward them across the crater floor.
Okay, so now they're in a really dangerous position. The sun is coming up, and without the cooling system, what temperature is it going to be inside of Vern's suit pretty soon? 250 degrees. So I just learned through my science fiction reading that it's 250 degrees on the moon when the sun is out. Yikes, that's hot. I also learned that the moon turns slowly on its axis about every 28 days, and the Earth turns every 24 hours. So that is very, very slow resolution, about the pace of a person strolling briskly. Wow, Jerry must be really smart to know all of that. Um, Vern, on the other hand, it seems like his character has changed a bit. Um, how has your opinion of Vern changed? How could we describe him now? I'm seeing Vern in a little different light. Before, he's calling his brother Runt. Now he's, oh, please help me. I can't walk. I can't walk. He seems a little scared, and he seems pretty helpless. So, listening to the way that the author describes um, the characters through their quotations, what they say, is one way of trying to figure out how the author wants you to view the characters, how the author is describing the characters, and it comes a lot through their quotation or what they say. And in one part, the author even wrote, "Come on," Jerry said stubbornly, "let's get started." Jerry seems optimistic. He can help him. He is determined. But Vern's like, "No, we'll never make it. I can't." So, um, let's see what happens next. Also, not yet. What type of narrator does this story have? Give you 10 stallion bucks if you know. The narrator is third person. That's because the narrator is using words like he, his, they. He's not talking about himself. He's talking about them. So third person means writing a story when the main character is someone else apart from you. Okay? All right, let's move on. All right, last 2 pages, and I still have these pink marks. We're going to ignore them. Thank you. Here we go.
As long as we stay in the night, we'll be okay, Jerry told himself. If we can get back to the shelter before Vern's air runs out. They trudged along for what seemed like hours. The sky was spangled with thousands of stars. They seemed like hard, solemn eyes watching the two boys. We can make it, Jerry kept muttering. We can make it. But with every step, Vern seemed to get heavier. The line of daylight was catching up with them. Jerry could almost feel the sun's blazing heat roasting him. Vern coughed. Hard to breathe, he gasped. We're almost there. Jerry could see the rounded hump of dirt that covered the shelter. Can't. Vern collapsed. Jerry staggered under the full weight of his brother's unconscious body. Blinking sweat from his eyes, trying hard not to cry, grunting, puffing hard, Jerry dragged Vern to the shelter. The tractor was nowhere in sight. Dad's not back yet, he realized, not knowing if he should be glad or sorry. As he pulled his brother into the airlock, He saw the tractor coming slowly over the horizon, kicking up a lazy rooster tail of dust. Vern came to, coughing and sputtering, once Jerry got him inside the shelter and took his helmet off. "We made it," he said. "You saved me, Runt." "Dad's on his way back," said Jerry. Vern didn't care. "You saved my life. You really did." "It's okay." "Gee, Runt, I owe you. What can I do to repay you for saving my life?" Jerry didn't hesitate for a microsecond. "Don't ever call me Runt again. As long as we stay in the..."
Okay. It seems to me like Vern owes Jerry a very big apology and a lot of favors. Jerry pulled his brother into the airlock right before it closed, and he saw his dad's tractor coming back. Thank goodness, he was so happy. But why was he still calling his brother Runt? That Runt just pulled you to safety. So I think he should stop saying that. Do you think that Vern will treat Jerry differently now? I think I can tell that he has a new respect for his brother's abilities. He says, "Wow, I can't believe it. You saved me. You really did." So that shows me that Vern is very surprised by Jerry, and it's pretty surprising to me too. So we're going to end our story here. There is a Google form for you to fill out based on this story. Of course, you can look back on the story and use it to answer the questions. There's 8 questions. There's a few long answer questions where the 4th grade teacher just want to get some input from you. And I hope you enjoyed watching Moonwalk. And I will hopefully see you all very soon. We miss you. Have a great day. Good.